Viewers, now we are going to speak to a very, very special guest. The person who has argued quite literally and built the case for the government. So, argued for the defense of the country and built the case for the government. And I'm talking about SV Raju, Additional Solicitor General of India. Mr. Raju, thank you for taking the time out. I want to ask you this because this is really the nub of the issue, and we've been discussing it with various other eminent lawyers. Apart from death and destruction, the provision of the UPA upheld by the Supreme Court encompasses acts that disrupt society are also terror acts, which many say constitutes an enlargement of the interpretation of this law. Is this true in your mind?
No, it's not an enlargement. The section itself provides. There is a terrorism can be economic terrorism also, where you disrupt the essentials to a particular area or community. And terrorism doesn't necessarily mean that you kill people. But in this case, 53 people were killed. That apart from that, we have shown that their entire one of the purposes was to see that Delhi and its areas, certain areas in the country, are deprived of essential supplies by doing chakka jam. Therefore, by doing all these activities, if the aim is to see that people are deprived of the essentials, then it would be a sort of economic terrorism also, which is defined in the Act itself. The Act is clear. It's not that the court has said something new.
Okay, but
which is not there in the Act.
Okay, so let me ask you, you talked about chakka jam. So there is a strong message being sent to those who organize chakka jams, which were pioneered by Mahatma Gandhi. Now, many people say that, look, we are only following in Mahatma Gandhi's footsteps, and which is why many of these individuals, these so-called self-styled libertarians, claim that the order is draconian. So what's your take on this?
When Mohandas Gandhi carried out his so-called agitation, there was no UAPA Act. UAPA Act is an act which has been enacted after independence. And there is an amendment which brought in this economic terrorism part in UAPA, which was subsequently brought in. Because terrorism can be different types of terrorisms. Supposing you take a few persons hostage and deprive them of their food, etc. It's not covered in this case, but I'm just giving an illustration. So there are different facets to what is terrorism these days. Supposing you cut off, the argument was this: Sajil Imam in his speech categorically said, and we played the speech, that we want to separate Assam from India. Can you tolerate that? He said, we'll cut off chicken neck so that Assam gets out of India, and we'll dismember India and make Assam a separate part of India. And Umar Khalid was there when the speech was, and but he supported the speech which said that Bharat hum tumhare tukde tukde karenge. These are the type of terrorists, and the law says you need not wait till an overt act is committed. Even preparation of a terrorist act itself is punishable under the UAP Act. This is way beyond preparation. The overt acts have been done. 53 persons, innocent persons have been killed. More than 530 injured. What else do you need? And it was all orchestrated by these two persons, mainly, who were at the helm of the affairs and who were pulling the strings, and they were having their own they're misleading people into joining the agitation. Some of them were misled by saying that it's a peaceful thing. There's nothing peaceful about it. We have demonstrated how weapons, etc., were carried right from the inception.
Now, this was, in a sense, a dangerous plot, prima facie, allegedly, to incite the Muslim community, and there would have been catastrophic consequences had this succeeded. But what will you say to those who are saying the order will have a chilling effect on freedom of expression, for example, tonight?
That is an extreme. That is an extreme view. There is nothing like absolute freedom of speech. Freedom of speech is regulated. You can't have freedom of speech, and there are exceptions to it. In this Article 19 of the Constitution, sovereignty of the country is one of the exceptions. Law and order is another exception. Defamation is also an exception. You can't defame a person and then say, I have a freedom of speech. Therefore, it is not an absolute right. You have to go within the contours of freedom of speech as permitted by the Constitution. And therefore, there is no, it is only when you resort to these types of acts that it is cut. You don't classify this as freedom of speech. To cut off India from Assam is freedom of speech. I don't agree with you.
Yeah, I mean, look, that I agree with completely. There is no doubt about that. I mean, you can't really go for the vivisection of this country. But let me ask you, Mr. Raju, because, and you might be seeing those reactions on our screens, the Supreme Court is being accused of being ultra-nationalistic and undermining the intellectual traditions of debate and dissent in this country. What is your reaction to that lobby that is today, or those ecosystem that is today saying this?
It's absolutely wrong. The Supreme Court is right, and the Supreme Court is absolutely right, and there can't be no two reasons about it. The only reason is you are trying to curtail something which would, I see, you forget, our case is that all these agitations were in the name of CAA was only a facade. It was a regime change agitation.
Regime change.
And we have produced evidence to that effect. And it is also corroborated by some extent when you know that there are 8 lawmakers of USA who have written to the court and others saying that you grant bail. How is it that lawmakers in USA are interested? There are hundreds of cases. Why are they not interested in other cases in India? And why have they picked up these 2 cases? Our case is that they wanted regime change. Probably there is a foreign connection to it. We have not investigated into this aspect. Maybe future investigation may reveal, and maybe that is the reason why these so-called lawmakers are raising hue and cry about this. They have no business to say that, especially when they have not read the evidence. They have not seen the facts of the case. They have not perused 2,500 pages of the charge sheet. They don't know what Indian law is. Indian law need not necessarily be the law that is there in the USA. We have our own problems. We have a way of tackling problems. Therefore, we have different laws. It is no need. Then when the thing is accomplished, when Assam is separated from India, then you say, oh, you should have acted earlier.
On that,
you should have nipped it in.